Well, Anja will join us in just a few minutes. Let's go ahead and get this kicked off for Open Line Friday, a very special Open Line Friday. I have to tell you before we start that this is being recorded. And Open Line Friday, as you've known it up until now, it's been a great chance for us to meet the personalities behind EPLAN. And not only are we a great company, I can say that, but we're also great personalities behind the company. And I thought this was too good to pass up because a week ago, yesterday, Sarah let me know that it was International Women in Engineering Day. And so, why aren't we celebrating this? We should be celebrating this all the time, but one day a year, and we missed out on it. So, this is a perfect time for us to have you on Open Line Friday because not only do we have some great employees overall, but our women in engineering is a very important part of EPLAN. So let's go ahead and get to this. We have some awesome attendees or some panelists for this Open Line Friday, and I'll introduce you one at a time. I'm going to start off with a person that I'm with most every day, about 6 or 7 hours, and the person that makes my life so easy, and that would be Sarah Larson. So Sarah, tell us about you, and let's not talk about how awesome I am too much because this is your day. But yeah, Sarah, tell us about you and your background and where you came from in your education and why you wanted to be an engineer.
Right. Well, excellent. Thank you very much, Josh, for the very kind words and warm welcome. Yes, he's not exaggerating. We're on the phone at least 6 hours all day, every day, where we work together for EPLAN USA. I studied electrical engineering technology at the Milwaukee School of Engineering. In high school, I loved science and math. In a world of crazies and hormones, right, and teenagers, science and math made sense. We could all come to agree on the same answer, and then you could troubleshoot to figure out how you didn't get there. Parents were very encouraging, right? You should be a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer. And I one particular teacher, Mr. Ziller, my science teacher, who said, Sarah, you should be an engineer. You're really good at math and science. And I went, okay, right? Never mind your parents telling you something you should do, but it takes that one person, not a parent, that says you should do this. And I said, okay. So I said, well, I went to MSOE, and yeah, I have a degree in electrical engineering technology and a minor in communications, which is an interesting combination, but clearly I enjoy speaking, so it seemed to fit very well. I've had over 20 years in industrial automation. So I used to work for Rockwell Automation, and 4 months ago, I came over to EPLAN USA. So a broad career from technical support, product development, product management, sales, and now marketing in this industry.
It's funny because Sarah and I, she's such the technical person that when we were talking about a graphic that we were looking at, and I said, well, this is what it represents to me. And she said, it's a graphic. There's no data behind it. And I said, that is a very engineering way of looking at this one graphic because there was nothing behind it. I mean, it's a flat graphic to Sarah, who sees it totally different from me, and also made me feel like I know where my place is, and it's not around anything that has to do with math or science in a lot of ways. So thanks, Sarah. And let's talk about someone else that's been with us for a little while now, and that would be Reem, who's here in Houston with me. We have some pretty decent weather, maybe not the same as your background, but the weather today is a little bit better than it was the last few days. And we both live in Houston, but Houston is so big, if you don't realize how enormous it is, we live about an hour and a half away from each other.
Well, you are definitely on the wrong side of Houston. I can tell you that, but it's okay.
Yeah, I'm not on the Gulf side of Houston like you are. So, Reem, tell us about your background.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say similar to Sarah, you can see it and feel it whenever you're in high school, actually, that you're more interested about science and maths than anything else, I would say. Also, the fact that I'm a very solution-oriented person. I like to understand how things work. So it was kind of obvious to choose engineering because I'm my memory is not my biggest asset. So, so definitely engineering was something that challenges me as a person, and industrial engineering specifically, because it gave me that opportunity to build, I would say, a versatile profile. So you learn a little bit of everything, different um, industries, different platforms, and so on. So my degree, I got it actually from back home, which is Morocco. So I got my bachelor's and master's there in industrial engineering and logistics. Then came to the US, took a couple of certificates here and there, some quality assurance certificates, some mechatronics. I'm a nerd. I'm a little bit of a nerd, so don't judge it. No hate, okay?
I don't think at this point we've come so far. I don't think that there's any negative stigma on being a
That's
nerd.
good. That's a good
I
thing.
think that we can all agree that we work for a company that we feel like the cool nerds. Am I wrong
That's
about that?
true. Not at all. Not at all.
Like
Yeah,
if you're gonna work in something nerdy, this is the place to be.
for sure.
Right.
I do enjoy school, honestly. Unlike, I would say, a lot of people would not agree with me, but I am someone who really enjoys school. So again, like came to the US, started my MBA in industrial management actually. And yeah, so now I'm taking a break, having babies for the moment. So giving it a pause, and then we should be back pretty soon to school again.
Well, let's bring in the third part of our engineering crew, our women in engineering discussion that we're having today on Open Line Friday. And Anja, I'd said at the beginning, Anja, that you were preoccupied with something else. Unlike me, you actually do work, like you do real work. And so they always say, the marketing group, they just do marketing. They have fun all the time, but we get to talk to all of you a lot too. So that's part of what we do. And Anja, tell me about your background, where you went to school, and really what got you into engineering in the first place.
Yeah, well, that's actually engineering runs in my family. So person I looked up to also when I was little, of course, was my father. He was an electrical engineer, so he worked in electrical engineering. So I grew up already. When I was 4 years old, I had my first toolbox. So my grandpa bought it for me, so I had that. And then I started out, I forgot how old I was, probably 9, 10, that I helped my father sorting resistors. And then my aunt, she is also in the engineering, so she was electrical engineer in Germany as well. And yeah, so I always was interested in that topic and subject. And then I went actually to a technical trade school in Germany. And this is where I got my degree from then. So I started already, when I knew already I wanted to pursue that direction or that path early on, went to that school, and that was 10th grade actually when I switched over. And my major, what I focused on back then, was because of availability and what was out there, and there was also only limited what you could do and choose and pick. And my mom, she wanted me to go back to school right away, and I could not just opt out and do venture out, so, or take a break or anything like that. So at that moment it was communications engineering. So like communications, telecommunications, that's my background. And then the first company I started working with in the industry is then of course something completely different to that what you are probably learning at school. Had nothing to do with it. At school I also learned how to make circuit boards and actually solder and do all that stuff. And I built my own power supply, electrical power supply, and things like that, which I did like. So that was a combination of mechanical. Of course, we made the housing out of aluminum, and I had to drill the holes and do all that stuff, and yeah, pretty much file down the housing and all that stuff. And that was interesting too. And then, of course, the electrical part was a circuit board of that sort. And then working in the industry first was a company which did special machines in Germany. And then I changed working for a company, and then I spent a long time there. I did like the work there because it was interesting. I had all different kinds of subjects to work on. At first I was working also in a conveyor group, which to me was boring because conveyors are always just a different length, but conclude or have the same elements in it. And then started working for the process group. And there's more troubleshooting what you have to do also, because things don't work necessarily right away. So I have to figure out stuff, and that is what I like doing too. So I like challenges, yes. So
I want to remind you that you can leave questions for our panelists in the chat so we can get to. And Anja, my question is that whenever you got your toolbox at 4 years old, if you couldn't put something back together, then nobody blamed you. It was your grandpa that they got to blame, right? Because it wasn't your fault. He's the one that got the tools for you.
well, it's always how to, if you break something, you have to learn how to fix it. And what I learned over time is, in the worst case scenario, it costs you money, right? And then you try it again. So you gotta get up and do it again, and until you figure it out. So that's how it works.
Did you ever have that aha moment? Like, okay, this is what I'm built for. I mean, it sounds like you maybe had it early on because your family was so involved in engineering, but was there like that click moment that, wow, this is really what I'm built for?
Not really. I like to do all different kinds of things, and that's part also of my hobbies, what I do. So I do build a lot then with my hands. So I like to do also woodwork. This is not electrical, obviously, but I like to build things, which is also part of engineering, trying to build and make something really and construct it, and then figure out a better way of doing things or automating stuff somehow, some way.
What about you, Sarah? Did you have that aha moment that came along? Because you look like you have it.
Yeah, in high school, I would help a lot of my friends in math and science, did a lot of tutoring in high school. I think the aha moment was walking to my locker one morning, and there was at least a dozen kids on the floor sitting, waiting for me. I had to walk through them to get to my locker, and I just would, before school, meet them there to help tutor them. And I think it was like, okay, I really do like math and science, and others are coming to me to help them. So I think that was the aha. I am good at this, right? It is something that I do enjoy. So it was definitely I remember having to, like I said, walk through my locker, everyone waiting. So that was pretty cool.
Reem, you have any of those experiences?
I can say whenever choosing or picking the right field, I had that moment, because my first 2 years in college were just preparatory classes, so more maths and science, nothing really related to engineering until the third year. Then you really start taking engineering classes. That was the system that I went to. I would say choosing the field, yes, because industrial engineer, like I mentioned, it was a little bit broad, so a little bit of everything, and I can get bored easily. So you gotta keep me entertained, right? I cannot keep doing the same exact thing in school every single day. So industrial engineering, whenever it was explained to me that you do learn different aspects, different industries, I was like, aha, this makes sense. This is me.
So engineering, I would guess, not that I would know because I'm not an engineer. It's really known as a really intense major. Reem, what would you say was the most challenging part of that college experience for you?
That's a good question. I believe that every field has its own particularities and difficulties. Honestly, nothing is easy. As long as you want it and you're passionate about it, I would say you overcome challenges. Um, for my own experience, it was managing the time, honestly. It was because it was like an 8 to 5 kind of curriculum every day. Sometimes even on the weekends, we had to go to college. So we didn't have the time to have a life pretty much for 5 years. So managing that and without losing your mind, that was challenging.
How about you, Sarah?
All the hands-on labs, just as you were saying, you have time in the classroom, you have time out of the classroom to manage to do homework, and then you're in labs. I think Anja as well, right? There's a lot of work we're supposed to do, setting up the lab, conducting the lab, writing up the results of the lab, presenting those results. And you could have 2 or more labs in the same semester with multiple lab partners. So it was, like you said, a lot of balancing of what am I doing right now and what do I have to do the next hour.
Right. Did you go through the same whenever you were in college, Anja?
It cannot, has been a while. So for me, it was, I did like the lab work actually a lot because we had to try things out. And the challenge actually for us was, we're building these circuits, which were all, it was about waves and components, which, yeah, when you have waves and currents and waves and all that stuff, there were things happening, which actually, according to the book, should not be happening. So those were experiences, right? What we had. So the colleague, the guy who I worked with in the lab, basically we started measuring all these components first, right? We made it down, had a procedure figured out, right? What do? We measure all the wires we're using, measure this first, measure the components, clarify a whole bunch of stuff. So yeah, I think we were able to, yeah, get a good grip on this, so we knew exactly what to do and then sort things out. And I mean, I like that sort of stuff. Then I did not like necessarily the theoretical lessons too much, of certain things where you just had memorize stuff, because to me it is, I don't need to memorize it all. I need to know where to look things up. And this is still what my opinion is about everything. It's like you need to know where you get the information from and who to contact. Really, that's the most important thing.
Or the application, right?
Yeah.
Was there a point in time, and this kind of segues into the question that we have. You can answer both of these, Anja. Was there a point in time where you thought maybe this isn't the right thing for me? And what might you have? What was something that you might have done if you weren't in engineering? What was the second choice for you?
This is a good question. I haven't really thought about that. If I would not be in engineering type, I mean, I definitely would be. Yeah, I think I would be. I cannot think of anything else I would rather do, really.
So if you wouldn't have been in engineering, you would have been in engineering.
Yeah, correct.
All right, Sarah, your turn.
I would say.
Oh yeah,
Go
go
for
ahead,
it.
Reem. Go ahead. Yeah.
No, go ahead, Reem.
For me, I would say medical field.
The medical
Yeah.
field, you said?
Yes.
Okay. What draws you to the medical field?
But not the way how it's done. I'm more interested in the way how it's studied here in the US. I like it. I do a lot of research. I annoy my doctors all the time. If you're a new doctor, then sometimes you think that I work in the medical field, which is a good thing. So you're always careful about what you say around me, which I like actually. But it goes down to that memory part that kind of scare me actually to go into the medical field. I'm not that good memorizing books.
It's
papers.
funny you say that because my sister-in-law she was going into engineering and then did a complete about face and she decided that she wanted to go in the medical field instead. I said, that's very interesting to me how you would pick something totally different, but maybe it's not. Maybe those you can associate the research that you put into and I guess some of the studies that go into it as kind of the same structure, just different fields. So Sarah, was there a time where you said, I don't know if I'm going to do this or if this is something that's going to work out for me, and did you have a backup plan?
Yeah. And what I wanted to do besides engineering, I don't know if you've seen, there's several TV shows out there about home organizing. You know, I love
I
putting
like
things
that.
away, organizing things, streamlining, right? Don't you feel happy just making things clean and
We're
easy? So
friends,
yeah,
right?
we're friends, right? Yeah, but like it's, you could look at it too like process improvement. How do we keep things, just make it work, make it simple, make it easy, make it repeatable, you know, improving and streamlining processes in the house. So I know it sounds crazy, but it's like, oh, I think that I know where everything is, so I can get to it when I need it to work on something.
True.
After 4 months of working with Sarah, this makes more sense than I can tell you. This makes so much sense to me.
Did it?
It's funny because you know, the communication part. A lot of people, whenever you said that you were in communication and engineering, that a lot of times those two don't really coexist in a lot of places. And for me, I have a lot of friends that are engineers, and understanding how to have that communication with them, and have them understand you. It's a struggle back and forth. And so I'll say this, and I've never said this to Sarah before. Whenever we were first working together, and we've been working together 4 months, it's still pretty new. But in the second month, I was trying to explain something to Sarah, and at that point, I had an aha moment. I said, "Oh, I'm not talking to a regular person. I'm talking to someone that is thinking in engineering terms, and if I don't explain it that way, then she probably isn't going to get my background or get what I'm talking about at all." And so I did that, and it now I get it. You know, I totally get it, because it is a totally different way of communicating. Because for me, it's whenever you have that higher knowledge of something, breaking it down to a smaller level is sometimes it takes a while, and it's tedious. It really is.
It can be.
Because you have so much knowledge, all of you have so much more knowledge about especially what we do at EPLAN than a lot of other people, that it could be tough for you. So let's talk about that first job. What's that first job that you ever had, Reem?
So I can talk about the first job here, the first engineering job here in the US.
Yes, I'm sorry, engineering job. Like, and talk about something that you learned that didn't come out of the classroom.
Yeah,
Because I think that a lot of times you think, oh, I know everything. I can go and work in engineering and it'll be fine. And it's not, it isn't always that way.
not at all. So in college, everything I studied was in French, 100%. Totally. And I moved to the US, I would say 2 weeks after or 3 weeks after graduating. My first engineering job was with Axelis Technologies, which is a big company in Massachusetts, right? In the manufacturing department. So it was a bit challenging to, I would say, switch all that jargon from French to English. It doesn't matter if you speak the language, but the technical language is different. And if you don't know the technical words, then you don't know. You don't know what you're talking about. So it was challenging, I would say, the first months to switch. And also that gap between what I learned in college, that perfect picture of everything and how it should work and the right way to do things. And then your first real experience in the field and everything is going the other way. And you're stuck in the middle, and you should understand why things are not working how they taught you they should work, because they're not going to go by the book. That's I think a challenge that most or recent engineers would face, and they have to adapt to it and try to understand that, okay, what you learn in college is how things should work, but it's not necessarily how things really work in real life. So yeah, that's one aspect to it.
You know, your first job, was there something there that was an eye opener, or something that you learned that you weren't taught in school?
For me, it was, everything pretty much. So because that what I learned at school was, the communications, engineering, that area and territory. And also I soldered components, right? And then in the industry, the first job I did was I started working for a machine builder. It's completely different, right? So you're building now panels, and that's not something I learned at school. So it was a complete different field. So completely different to that what I was doing. Then I started working actually back then already with the first CAE tool set, and that's our competitor. Well, not really competitor anymore, like EPLAN, right? So this is what I started learning back then. And I thought it was super cool, just because of this is something where you can sit at a computer, work with the computer. So right out of school, this was not very common back then. I mean, that has been, oh my God, how many years ago? Just think back, right? That I did that, and that was amazing that we had actually that technology available to us, and we were trying really at that moment. And also So thinking about back then already to share the computer with multiple users so we can utilize this machinery most of the time. But then also, it always depends on how much energy and efforts and your own point of view, what you're learning, what you knew, and then evolving actually in that field, of course, how much efforts you put into it to make things better. And for me, it was then when I started working for the next company, then I started working also in a panel shop, and that was a great experience. So I really saw how things are wired up correctly, and I learned that was very, very good, and that helped me to put the foundation down for the engineering part, to know actually how should you actually lay out your drawings to make sure that they can be wired up later on correctly. And I was in close contact with the panel shop as well then all the time. And I kept that relationship going because that helped all of us ultimately down the road.
Sarah, what about you?
For me, I started in a post-sales technical support department.
Wait, what?
So I know, right?
Say that
so
again fast.
I know, customer service department. So after the product shipped, and it was low voltage motor control center, so very large, panel style of controls. So I think where Anja was starting to talk about, you learned how to do everything backwards because the customer had a product and it didn't work the way they wanted it to. So they would call and you would have to reverse engineer, follow schematics, go find the engineer that did the design and talk to them and try to understand, troubleshoot. Well, what went wrong from how we designed it to how we built it to how they're using it, and then how do you fix it? Then you learn very quickly what they call a matrixed organization. So now that you know how it happened, now you have to fix it so it doesn't happen again. Well, now it takes multiple people to agree on the decision. Is this the right way to fix it? What process do we have to change so it doesn't happen again? And now you're trying to talk to multiple departments and multiple people. And in college, you learn pretty quickly, you have teammates, right, members on your project, and usually one or two professors. Well, the professors usually have that final decision. Well, now you have to have multiple people at different levels and trying to coordinate and get everyone to consensus was, definitely eye-opening coming right out of college, that we can all, like you said, agree to fix something to keep moving forward.
What do you enjoy more though? Do you enjoy the putting stuff together and it works the right way the first time because you had this process that you thought out, or is it better when you get to reverse engineer? I know Anja's answer already. But I'll ask her in a second. But Sarah, for you, is it more fun to have it all work right exactly how you planned it, or to reverse engineer it?
For me, it's reverse engineering. I rather enjoy the process improvement, the troubleshooting. How do we make this easier to try again, to do differently or better or faster in the future? So I think for me, it's reverse. I could see Anja, and I think for you, it's to build it.
Anja?
For me, it is actually the building process of things,
Yeah.
right? What I like doing and enjoy. So I do a first prototype, whatever I do, it doesn't matter really with things. And then, of course, I tweak it until I have it really the way how I want it to be. That's what I do.
Mm-hmm.
There's a question in the chat. If you have a question, you can leave it in the chat right now. For you, Reem, what career path does EPLAN offer for young professionals? And does the company support onboarding? Onboarding is a big thing that we've talked about, Sarah and I, in the past few months. So tell us about that.
Yeah, that is actually a really good question. So EPLAN does support young engineers and young professionals. We have trainee programs that you can start if you don't have a long experience, or if you're, let's say, switching fields or joining a new industry or exploring a new industry. So we do have trainee programs, and that's how I started with EPLAN. It's usually around 2 years long, and you learn about all different departments in the company. The onboarding at EPLAN is amazing. So you get to travel around the world. Like I had the chance to go to Germany, spend there almost 2 months, my first year with EPLAN, which is a huge benefit actually. So you get to meet different departments different people, build relationships, and those relationships, they do help you along the way. So whenever you have a question, you know the right people to ask. It's the onboarding process, I would say, for the trainees is very thorough, very, I would say, complete, and it covers all aspects that you would need to work with EPLAN and more. The bad side of it is you know a lot, you know, maybe too much, and that can annoy some people, but it's a really good experience. So you have the sales industry experience, you can work with the technical team, you learn about the software, you get to be trained on how to use the software and so on. So yeah, absolutely. It's a great chance for young professionals to join EPLAN and go for the trainee program or an entry level. You'll get the onboarding, you'll get the support and all what you need for a successful career.
Anja, was there ever a time that you felt that it was an intimidating choice to be a woman going into the engineering field?
No, never intimidating. For me, it was always like you just have to stand up actually and put your foot down at times, and that's I keep on doing it too. So yeah.
Reem, did you ever get that thought in your head whenever you were going through?
Well, let me tell you something. Don't let the makeup fool you. I have a black belt in karate, so so if we're to go that route, I'm ready to go down that route. But honestly, jokes aside, I've never had that issue. I feel like it depends on the person and how you carry yourself and the knowledge level. And at EPLAN, it's a very positive environment, honestly. Like we don't get like we're very appreciated at EPLAN. Yeah.
Mhm.
Intimidation or no?
No,
No?
not intimidation, more curiosity, I think, than intimidation, right?
Yeah.
Wow, what brought you to this field and what do you like about it? And oh, okay, just, more curiosity. And you said,
But I
I
feel
enjoy, I'm a nerd, and they're like, oh, and then you quote a few lines from a few, nerd movies, and everybody, you're all best friends.
but I feel like I have three of the most gender excluded, three of the most fearless people that work at EPLAN on this webcast right now. That all three of you, that there is no fear whenever you go into it. So that was probably a really poor question on my part, knowing how awesome you are. I think that a lot of people think that if you're an engineer, though, that you're sitting around and Sarah mentioned nerd again. We're all nerds. That you're sitting in the office just making calculations all day, and there's got to be some misconceptions about engineering in general. Sarah, what do you think those are?
Yes, you can be, like you said, in an office. So depending on what department you're working at or what project you're on, you might be in an office setting more or a lab setting more. But I've had a variety of roles. So I've had time in the field. I've had time physically assembling panels and machines, being with customers. And today I'm currently more in an office type setting, but just as we're speaking now, I have the chance to talk to people that are located around the globe from different backgrounds, countries, and cultures. So personally, I get to learn and grow from them, learn more about them and their, like you said, their personalities, backgrounds, and experiences. So for me, I enjoy learning from other people no matter where I'm physically residing or sitting.
But I will say I've never seen one person in my entire life get more excited about spreadsheets.
That is true. That is true.
Sarah that's the one thing that she really, really loves. I think more than anything else in her life is spreadsheets. Anja, any misconceptions that you've heard from people that whenever you tell them this is what I do, that they're surprised about?
I would think a lot of times, aside from that, what Sarah said is also that it's creative work too, right? And this is really overlooked at times. So you have to come up with ideas, of course, to probably improve on things or make things better. And it's like also if there's a problem or challenge, rather should say challenge, not a problem, right? Something happening, you need to find a solution to, then it is like in my head, and then it stays in my head like all the time, right? Then you think about it in the evening time, or then usually I wake up the next day or a couple days later, and then I have a new idea. So, and then you can actually pursue this. Yeah, this is
Reem, are you as excited as Sarah about those spreadsheets or no?
Big time. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Big time.
So misconceptions, have you heard any from people that you've talked to about what you do?
I would say yes. Well, while it can be the case that an engineer can be working or sitting behind the computer most of its time, but it's also a combination. So it's not just doing similar tasks. It's a lot of analysis, a lot of problem solving, a lot of skills combined actually to do so. And it also depends on the type of the engineer. But I'm a firm believer that a good engineer is someone who starts with a hands-on experience. So definitely the first few years, you want to work in the field, you want to see how it works. And every now and then get a refresher, talk to people, go to customer sites, see how they really work to stay up to date. You can't just be doing drawings behind the computer all day long. You have to see what's going on out there too.
So you think that picking up some technical skills is important along the way?
It's helpful.
Some practice, some of those practical skills. For all three of you kind of working in different areas of engineering at this point. Sarah, what are those technical or practical skills that you think people should pick up if they haven't already?
Haven't already. We talked about communicating, right? Communication skills. Whether you're talking to internal, you said customers, external management, right? You know, learning how to talk to your audience, learning your audience, and then saying yes to different projects, different departments, right? There's so much you can learn and how engineering impacts more than design, right? It can impact all the departments. And I think, Reem, where you were talking about your experiences, it's fun to learn, well, how did that impact manufacturing? And how did it impact quality? How did it impact design? What about marketing? What about sales, even finance? So for me, it's just saying yes and learning about all the different departments to see the big picture and, and try and put it all together.
Anja, you have anything to add to that part?
Definitely is very good always to have real life experience and venture out, look at things. Obviously, this applies to a lot of our customer base, right? If you go and visit a customer, you look around, you go to the panel shop, you talk to the different departments, and then actually look around, and by doing so, you can pick up on a lot of things. You find similarities with other companies. You can compare what are they doing, what are they doing, and try to see and then come up with an idea of what are similarities, what all the companies are facing as far as challenges they are facing, and then come up with an idea of what can we do as a company to help facilitate some offering what we have, for instance, from our engineering side, consulting side, what we can offer these customers to help to get there, right? That they are all on the same page and minimize their workload or repetitive work what they're doing. That's for me, like, one thing is always, if I have to do 3 times the same thing, then I try to find a way of automating something because it's annoying me.
Would you ever go back and tell a young Anja that's going into college, would you give that person some advice? Is there anything that you would tell yourself to do differently?
Well, early on, I think I was afraid to do something wrong, obviously, and break it, right? Right now, I would just say have at it and just do it, you know? If it breaks, you just redo it and go and do it again, right? So that probably.
Yeah, I think it's hard to sometimes consider, you know, what would I go back and say? Because I've made so many mistakes along the way, or I've learned so much whenever I finally had that moment 15 years down the line. So, Reem, what would be something for you that you could go back and tell yourself?
I would say a lot of skills that usually don't learn at school. You never learn in classrooms, those skills are very important. I would advise young engineers or people who are still in college to follow industry trends and see what's going on in the market and try to work on those skills. Learn a new software, learn about new technologies, learn soft skills as well, I would say. So not only you're working on your hard skills, you need to focus on your soft skills as well, because that's going to help you in your career. Like many times I regret not learning graphic design when I was in college because we had clubs for that. So it was for free. It was just something that I didn't think I would need, but many times I faced challenges where I was like, if only I know how to do it. If only I know how to create a poster right now that I can share. So you never know. It's good to learn different skills and get that skill set.
You look like you have something on board that you would have gone back and told yourself.
I think to where Reem was going, it's okay to be interested in all different types of interests and activities. Learning graphic design doesn't take away from the engineering interest, right? It can actually add more to it. Or, learning how to downhill ski, right? Learning how to play the piano. There's so many interests I don't think I spent enough time on because I didn't want to take away from all that I was trying to learn and do in engineering. And now I'm trying to learn all these things to go, oh, I've learned how to mountain bike, I've learned how to downhill ski, learning how to play the piano, because I'm confident, right? I think two also have more confidence. You know more than you think you do. And Anja, like you were saying, and it's okay to fail, right? So more confidence in knowing that I can have all the interests and that doesn't make me less of an engineer.
The failing, I think, is a big part of that. But
It is.
being a woman in engineering, was it that you had to, or you felt like you had to try harder than everybody else in the classroom? Sarah, is that
Oh,
something
yeah.
that you said, you know what, I'm here to prove myself and that I am the number one person in this class and I have to work harder? Is that something that went through you? I guess so. Went through your mind? Yeah.
Yep. It was. And not that you were met with intimidation, but it was curiosity. And with curiosity comes a lot of questions. So you wanted to make sure you sounded like you knew the answer, or to kind of reiterate that you were there and you belong. And plus, college is a very competitive environment, right? Everyone's competing. Everyone wants to do well. So I think that was, to your point, how do I really focus and show that I'm interested in this and I want to do this and I want to do well?
I think it's tough whenever you, and I don't know what it's like to go through college, number one, in engineering or things that smart people go for. And also doing it as a woman going through college in something that was at the time probably really thought of as a male dominated educational course. So there has to be things whenever you think about having a different perspective than your male counterparts whenever you're either going through school or working on a daily basis. Are there things that you pick up on, and do you feel like that there are advantages to that, Sarah? I mean, you work with me, so no holds barred here.
Right. I would say I'm more aware of the language used when we refer to individuals, even the graphics that are used, right? It is a very, I even say it, you guys, right? We refer to everyone, or the images are selected or males, especially in this industry. So just being more conscious and aware of the terms we use, the imagery we use to represent everyone. And I think that's a strength, just to make sure that we are messaging to all and we're not, excluding any one persons, right?
The balance is a great thing, because I think that a lot of times that we don't think in terms of balance, although I do feel like EPLAN does a better job than most companies in that area, that there is such a balance. So Anja, is that something that you can kind of talk about a little bit, the different perspective that you might have from your male counterparts, and are there any advantages to that you feel?
Well, from my point of view, I mean, I worked with males basically pretty much all my life from growing up, and I always got along better with guys than usually the girls, just because they were playing with different things than I would enjoy or try to play with. So that was part of it, and it was just easier communications to me personally, because I'm very direct and I say things usually how they are without any making things cute or anything like that. And usually that works in the male domain easier than with females a lot of times. And that's how I see it. Plus I come from Germany, so people are more direct there anyways. So it's just the way how people grow up. And other than that, it's like once your colleagues notice that you have some knowledge there, I think it's easy, then you're respected. And I guess that's all what matters.
I do have to agree with Anja on certain things. I feel like when it comes to engineers, regardless of the gender, the background, or any specific types or categories, if it makes sense, it makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, if you're talking nonsense, then they're not going to listen to you. I mean, they'll fake it. They'll make you feel like they're listening, but they won't listen. I mean, that's the logic we kind of grasp along the way. It's a very process-oriented way of thinking that we have in our brains. So you gotta make sense. And ask any engineer, and they will say yes, pretty much.
I think that you also all have the great ability to cut through the fluff that you hear on a daily basis, and you can point out whenever someone in the workplace or in the industry, I would say, is being very disingenuous about something, a product or a process or whatever it might be. And you have to roll your eyes whenever you're not around that person, thinking, golly, I can't believe I have to be around this person.
Right. It's like it's noontime. Oh my God.
Yeah. Hey, it's lunch somewhere. Don't you have somewhere to be right now? So
that
tell
for
me,
is I can't even hide it, right? So you will see it right.
And that's what I love. I mean, whenever you call it out right there, I think that's perfect. So
that's true. I learned how to hide it better, I would say, when I moved to the US. Because again, like in Morocco, we are also like very straightforward. Sometimes it can come across as rude. So we have that cultural barrier as well. But I'm still working on it. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's better than how it was 5 years ago, for sure.
It's hard. It's hard to not mistake genuine for rude sometimes.
Yes.
Like honesty and rudeness go a little bit hand in hand, where people think, well, I can't believe they said that. And somebody else thinking, you mean like exactly they're being completely honest? Is that a problem? It's not a problem, but I think there's in the US it might be a little bit more difficult because people aren't used to being as honest. So let's talk about your favorite thing about what you do at EPLAN. Reem, what's your favorite thing about your job at EPLAN?
I like the fact that I work on different projects same time. So that allows me to not get bored, face different challenges, work on different aspects of the business, which is very interesting, challenging. It keeps you on your toes, like you're always learning new skills and new stuff so you can improve yourself as well, not only just your work, but also as a person and grow as an engineer. So that's definitely a huge plus.
Anja, do you have a favorite thing about what you do at EPLAN besides building things and making them right?
Yeah, so at EPLAN, of course, we're not necessarily building as much anymore, just because, well, building in a way, I'd say, just because of the fact that right? We are looking at processes for us, right? In the technical department, things like that. Altogether, when I look at the challenge or things to make things work, I would say I can't think of anything else right now.
Everything. You love everything about your job. That's the right answer.
Actually, the special projects I do like a lot. Why? Because these are large companies, of course, and there are larger challenges, I'd say. And also with these that what we call special projects, I like to go out to customers and analyze what's going on there, right? Try to figure out what can we do better with our software tool set, and also get in, of course, all of our departments, right, which are evolving around the whole work, whether that's with Retal or from our side, right? If we discover, well, they're not even considering doing the panels probably in 3D or things like that. Troubleshoot this, look at it, come up with an idea and a plan, and then give them an step-by-step outline what can be done to achieve a goal, what they have in mind down the road, right? So these are the things what I like a lot. Of course, also we have so many different tool sets, and over all these years I looked at all the EPLAN different tool sets and got to learn them. So it has never been boring. There's always something new coming up. We have new tool sets right now. What I love a lot is this whole cloud-based solution, because we have all the different tools and it's still evolving. So we're not there yet with everything. So it's actually great to see this.
Yeah, what you were talking about with the cloud-based, that's actually something that we're going to talk about next month, that you had a hand in for our webcast that we're going to be doing next month. So we're excited about seeing that. For you, Sarah, your favorite thing besides working with me about what you do at EPLAN?
I mean, Josh, first and foremost, you. I would say, though, it really is the people. You know, getting to meet Reem now and Anja, it really is the people. Working with our global counterparts and those across the straits, really good group of people, and I've had an amazing time working with all of them. And I love working with marketing and sales. To try and help, to Anja said, bring to our customers' attention all the things we can help them with, right? We really are trying to improve their engineering processes, and it's something we can all believe in. And you know, to help our customers, you know, do engineering more efficiently. And I love that we all have this common, strong belief in that as a company. We really do want to help our customers, and that's just something you can get behind and believe in. So I really enjoy that.
Never seen one team come together so closely.
Yeah.
In any job I've ever had, because this is totally different. And whenever I met Reem, we were out at a dinner, and it was like right away everybody's best friends and like hanging out. And Sarah and I were together all week last week, and with the team, and everybody is just so happy to be around each other, and maybe we talk a little nerdy about stuff, but we all have, it's just the common interest and even the uncommon interest that everybody gets along so well. I want to get this one last question from all of you. One more to ask, and I'll start with Anja. Is any advice for young engineers out there, or even young female engineers that are thinking about coming into this?
This is a good question. So I know for a fact what really is helpful before you actually start working for EPLAN, that you actually worked in the industry, and we had also colleagues, right, which came directly from the school and started working for us. What I know a lot of times after a couple of years, they probably miss having the experience to work out in the industry and get that experience. So it's definitely good to have that experience already. Why? Because it helps you all together with that work, what we are doing on a day-to-day basis, working, of course, with probably with customers on their own, and having that practical experience, really, that you actually have worked in the industry to see what challenges our customers or could they be facing in the real world, and not just theoretically just learning yeah, I know how to push this button. I know how to get from this menu to that menu. Obviously, that's easy to do, but the background why, or what is that, what you're doing in a certain industry branch, right? That can be, we have so many different industries we work with, and every industry has a different focus point. And if you are coming from one, that can definitely, of course, help. Yeah. So that's what I see.
What about you? Some advice?
I would recommend going for internships while they're still in college, or the choice of the specific major is not yet made. That's very helpful, and it's very beneficial, so you can know what you're comfortable with, I would say. Like my own experience, I am an industrial engineer, but I can do quality control. I can work in processes, in manufacturing, in the electrical department, but I had to learn where I'm more comfortable and what works better for me as a person and as an engineer. Internships, they do help a lot, so you can see how departments interact with each other and how everything works from an internal point of view. And they will help you to build those skill set that you're going to use in your career path, and also help you to choose the right path.
And last but not least, Sarah.
Sarah, I would say engineering grows with you as your career grows, right? You know, when your interest in college may have been more in design or right process improvement, but I've been able to take the same degree through product development, technical support, marketing, and sales. And I didn't know this in engineering. I just thought I was going to be designing something for the rest of my life. So I say stick with it, right? And it can take you many places. And as Reem was saying, different internships show you different departments in different areas, right? And to Anja's point, any experience, you know, the more hands-on, the better, right? That's, I think, how we all learn best. So I just say stick with it. Engineering can be difficult, yes, but very rewarding because it could take you many different places.
Agreed.
Thanks to all of you for joining me today. Our first ever, and this is the first of what we're going to do every year at about this time to celebrate and honor you, our women in engineering at EPLAN USA. I appreciate it, especially given your time on a weekend that you might have taken Friday off because it is a holiday weekend. So thanks so much. I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Josh.
Thank you, Josh, for being a great host. We appreciate you.
And oh, I must tell you that in 2 weeks from now, our next Open Line Friday, I will not be available, but the way more than capable hands of Sarah Larson is going to be taking over, and she's going to be talking to Josephine Heck from our headquarters, and we're going to get into data portal and really some great things that they have from HQ that they're offering. A great conversation that you're going to want to be a part of. So look for the communication that's going to be coming out. Have a great weekend. Happy 4th of July. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So,
Bye.